March 8, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. It was one time of economic data that came out, which is around 5:30, which is where you see this gigantic spike. It looks like it's a huge sell-off, then a huge recovery. And the news that came out was the average hourly earnings and the non-farm employment change, as well as the unemployment rate. So it looks like there was a knee-jerk reaction, then recovered, and slowly started creeping up. The way I saw the charts today is pretty much for the first hour, there was this big rally, and then a very large sell-off occurred. But the sell-off it wasn't just one go. It was kind of like a consolidation. Then there's this one leg down, and it went from very steep to more shallow to even more shallow. So I have a series of three legs, this purple, this green, then this orange, and then this large consolidation area, then another two legs down, and then probably about 2 hours left, there was a rally, and then it kind of ended the day with another two legs down. So it was very choppy. I would kind of categorize this and describe it as, well, it was some mixed trading. Definitely you had some trading ranges and you have a lot of trends going up and down. I found a few setups and I only really took one. And unfortunately, there are a few possible trades that I missed out on. So this is the pre-market highs and the pre-market lows that I originally was working with. But as you can tell, it didn't really follow too closely. And then prices kind of violated and started moving down and out. So this is the pre-market. Before the market opens, when I saw this, it was very difficult for me to kind of get an idea of what was going to happen. I suspected it might be kind of a range day because it looked like it had some trouble breaking the market highs, the pre-market highs. And I was debating whether the pre-market lows should be drawn here or way down here. And you can make a case for either, but it turns out the day didn't really need to rely too much on these pre-market highs and pre-market lows anyways. So on the open, and I didn't really have this red channel drawn yet, so just disregard the red channel for now. I did have this yellow one drawn, so prices were moving down. It breaks out, and I'm expecting it to test this lows. It comes down and makes one attempt, pushes up, kind of makes a second attempt and falls short. Now it's kind of reversing. At this point, I do draw one of many trend lines. This is the red one's what I ultimately ended up with, and I deleted the other ones. But it looked like, even though I kind of didn't really count this guy because this is just too much of an impulse move to try to capture in the rest of the trend, I saw kind of one touch, two touch, three touch. So I thought potentially this is some kind of resistance, excuse me, some kind of support. And I drew this up here as some kind of resistance. So I was working with this red channel as a potential guideline. The prices are so far holding. It kind of falls into this new orange channel that I drew because one touch, two touch. Debatable was the third touch or not, but for here, definitely it was a touch here, but I don't see any clean setup that I particularly like. I'm going to push this up gradually. EMA is starting to come into play. Then it fails, comes back down, and here touches the red support again. So I'm feeling more comfortable that this is a proper channel, or at least a guideline to work with. Technically, I have a first entry long, second entry long here, but here there's not a good signal bar, so I wouldn't have had an order ready or even think about going long just yet. Prices move up. It kind of falls into this green channel temporarily, so this yellow one doesn't exist yet. It tests the high of this orange one, and now it's pushing against the top of the pre-market highs. No clean setup that I can find yet, or anything that I feel safe with. Let's do that. Okay. Make a double top. I only have a first entry long here, and it continues moving up. So then I drew, at this point, this yellow channel because it looked like it has some kind of respect for some support here, and then potentially a resistance up here. Including that with the red channel that I'm working with, I'm expecting prices to come back up to here. I'm expecting when I saw this, maybe prices will push up to the top where this yellow channel might intersect with this red channel. And maybe if there's setups just right, it might create a short entry back to the EMA. But unfortunately, it's still kind of grinding very slowly. hard to find any good setup right now. Breaks out. So it breaks out of the yellow channel, makes a new high, comes back down. You have a first entry long pullback. So this creates a second entry long. Here, I'm not thinking of going long yet because I wanted to see what happens. Here, you have a confirmed second entry long. It's a break of this yellow channel. And I'm thinking it might want to come up and test the highs at least once, but the high has already been made. So this could potentially be a second attempt, but I just didn't really like the signal bar. If this one was green and didn't close so far below the EMA, I might have considered taking a trade. And then this one confirms a second entry long, but all you have right now is a confirmation. So I wanted to wait for a higher low. The higher low never shows up. Now I'm thinking there's some kind of resistance up here. Prices come down. Then I saw this is a new high, first entry long pullback. So this, I was suspecting some kind of support right here because I noticed it made a double bottom. So I did draw something here as a placeholder. And when it kind of pushed down and broke back up, I was thinking there's a potential long here. And so when it opened and it created a first entry long, second entry long, I thought maybe I'm in a trading range. So even though I'm counted as second entry long, I like that this signal bar is relatively low risk because it's only 7 ticks big. So 9 tick total of risk. And I thought, okay, well, that's within my risk tolerance. So I entered right at the highs here for a quick scalp. I was able to scalp out. I wasn't 100% sure I was going to make it back to the top, but I saw a potential trade here and a potential, support here. And I traded with an extra runner, and the runner got stopped out 1 tick above because once it met my profit target, I moved my runner to 1 tick above the original entry just to cover commissions. And unfortunately, it stopped out the runner. Prices then start moving down. So I drew this green channel coming down. I'm still thinking we might be in this trading range, and this could be a failed breakout. And visually, this could be a new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Also, with respect to this yellow channel going up, I thought it was like a big one leg down push up, potentially a second leg. So if this up channel is strong enough, it might continue a second leg up, but I wasn't too sure. It moves up and then it does kind of move up and test the highs again, but I notice it's higher, slightly higher, and even a little bit lower. So it's making lower highs each time, but there is a triple test here. And I thought this triple test could be respecting range rules, and this is the second attempt to make the new high of this on a bigger visual. So there might have been a short here because there's enough room to make it back down to the bottom. I wasn't too keen on how this candle closed, so I wanted to see what happens. Now, when this candle closes, this is a pretty decent signal bar. So it closed very bearish. So I think there might have been a trade here. And I wanted to take this trade. I would have entered probably, I would say probably at the high lows of this guy just to get a little bit of extra safety. Looks like you would have gotten filled. And in this case, you would have gotten the quick scalp. If not, definitely one of these two candles would have gotten this quick scalp. Prices then kind of moved down on this green channel, and I'm watching to see if it's going to touch this red channel and bounce back up. It touches, but I didn't see a setup. Technically, you have a new, so you have a trend down, break, and a new low. Downtrend could have played out. I would have considered taking a trade if this candle had closed more bullish, but I wasn't sure, so I had to kind of wait and hold. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch this because this, I look in hindsight and I thought maybe, well, I can't really take that trade just because it didn't quite fit, but this was a downtrend break and a new low was made. As I said, this candle had to be a little bit more bullish, and unfortunately, it flashed up, so this would have been a nice trade to have taken. Moves up, it hits this resistance area, so I'm thinking, am I in a trading range? When prices started to move back up, that's when I drew this red range, and I'm thinking, okay, it's making lows to highs, back to lows. I'm thinking, is this red support still in play? Because it broke out, closed outside, but it's starting to move back in. Unfortunately, there's no clean second entries. I could see a potential second entry setting up here. It's a new high, first entry long, pullback, potentially a second entry long, but I wanted this to come down and touch the bottom of the range to feel more sure. Otherwise, I could see another potential leg coming back down. but I was also debating whether this red support was going to be more dominant. Comes back down and it barely makes it. So it's a first entry short, second entry short, potential second entry short failure, but I'm also potentially in range rules. So it's a little confusing. It's hard for me to really gauge which way it's going to go. You can make an argument that it's going to push back up to the highs, but it's already starting to show some weakness on this red support. So it left me a little unsure. And in this case, it is range rules. So like push down and it made one attempt up. Now it's making the second attempt up. It hits the other side. Comes back down. Okay, so I'm watching again. It's 1, 2, 3 triple test. And I wanted to see what would happen on this candle, and it flashes through, so there was no trade there. Moves down on this green channel, breaks up, makes a new low after the break of this green down channel. Starts moving. This purple channel doesn't exist, and this yellow channel doesn't exist yet. I'm here just watching right now. Prices start moving down. So at this point, I do draw this support trend line, and then eventually it turns into this purple channel. But then I was confused, so I also drew this as a potential resistance. I saw this as a new low, a first entry short, and then that's all you get. This is potentially a hidden second entry short, but this is also a lower high. Now I marked this and I thought it might have been a potential trade because it's coming, well, if you had the purple line in place, then you could say it's bouncing up and it's probably going to make another move down. This green resistance is not confirmed yet, but you could make the case that this could be a second attempt, or it's like it's a break of this green channel. It made a new high. It's coming back. This could be a second attempt, but it failed. And it's also a hidden second entry short. So it's first entry short, pulled back, makes a new high, pushes back down. That's your second entry short, all within this candle. And it closed very bearish. And it's potentially a lower high. EMA is keeping prices down. So there's a few good reasons to potentially take this trade, but I wasn't 100% sure what I was looking at in real time. Then by the time it happened here, then I realized, okay, maybe there was a trade there. Unfortunately, I was not. I didn't see this and process it in real time to take advantage of it. Prices continue moving down. I do see this as a new low. It's a first entry short pullback. You have a confirmed second entry short. Unfortunately, I needed this candle to be a little bit more bearish. It is pushing, it is having the EMA push down, and it is respecting this green down channel. This purple one doesn't exist, so I can't use that as another key entry point. But then this close here is relatively okay. So it is a potential trade here. Unfortunately, I just wasn't on it, so I had to kind of leave it alone. Prices then continue moving down. It's a first entry long. Technically, I have a second entry long, potentially a second entry long failure. Here you could say it's a new high, first entry long, second entry long failure, but you can't really count it as a new low because it made a double bottom, so you reset the count. It's only a first entry short, but there's a potential trade here that might have been more aggressive. And later when I drew in this purple, if I was playing off this purple, you could have used that as another key entry point. Unfortunately, I didn't have that at the time, so I couldn't really say that I saw that as a trade in real time. Prices continue moving down, so it's following on this yellow channel so far. This purple one looks like it's starting to hold too, so it's kind of in between two channels. It's a little confusing for me. Comes down, it bounces off the bottom of the pre-market lows. The first entry short, technically you have a second entry short, but there's not a good signal bar, no trade there. It starts creating this respect on this bottom part, so it's in a potential range. It respects it a second time, but here's a pretty decent signal bar, but I wasn't too sure what was happening with this channel and this channel at the time. There's just a couple of channels in play, and I wanted one to be more clean. But it looked like at this point, the purple one potentially played out, and you might be more playing on the yellow one. And so this breakout, it's consolidating. It might come back down to test the lows of this yellow, but it just kind of chopped sideways for a little while, and I'm not too keen on this type of price action because it's just very congested. Breaks out and starts moving down. So it's dwelled for quite a bit of time outside this yellow channel. It starts pressing and moving back up. I drew this as a potential resistance, and it fit pretty well. I wasn't sure where the bottom was, so at one time I was having it here, and this was a potential fail breakout. chops around. It's a little confusing. I draw and drag my channel down to here. So it looks like maybe the midline of this orange channel might have been a two-tiered top channel and bottom channel. And it's just getting very choppy. It's a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. But this failure at the time was pressing right against the pre-market lows. So I wasn't too certain about this taking this as a failure because this is what you see in real time, or at least what I saw in real time. There's the pre-market lows, and it looked like it's having trouble breaking down and through. So I wasn't prepared or even thinking of taking a short just yet. Looked like it would have worked though, but you don't know that in real time. It pushes up. So right now I'm thinking there's this yellow downtrend, and here, this might actually be in play because this orange one might have been played out now, just like this purple one has played out. So it was a little confusing for me. I mean, more experienced traders and chart readers probably see something that I don't, but I saw is like one leg and it's slowly, almost like it's curving back up. It's following this purple, then it's yellow, and then now this orange, which is telling me it might slightly be bottoming. So I'm just kind of long-term thinking it might start to reverse back up. And it kind of keeps chopping. The new high is first entry long, second entry long, but this isn't a very good signal bar. Technically, it's inside to this one. I drew this as a potential resistance, and I saw maybe a triple test because it tried once to break out 2 and 3 times. The bottom I wasn't too sure of because I actually had this bottom of the trading range a little bit higher at one point. It breaks through, tops. This could be a failed breakout. Makes one attempt up, push up, second attempt up. A little confusing. These candles are getting rather large, getting whipsaw. I don't really particularly like anything I see in here. There is a new high here. First entry long, technically a second entry long right here, but this is a terrible signal bar. Even if you counted this as one move down, this is a potential signal bar, but then it's hard to really trust because you did have a very deliberate several tick push up. Continues, it moves up, it kind of almost touches the top side. So I'm thinking for sure this is some kind of resistance. Is there some kind of support? Because right now it looks like it's bottoming out because it's making higher lows each time. Potentially it's going to start curving back up and we might have kind of a cup looking formation. It's first entry long. Technically you have a second entry long here. EMA is not helpful at all because EMA isn't being respected by price action. It's moving below, above, below, above. It's for the most part pretty sideways and there's a roller coaster on both sides of it. So it's hard to, you can't really use that as a key entry point yet. Pushes down, and at this point, I kind of dragged this down a little bit. I'm thinking, okay, I'm definitely in range, but where is a clean setup? Well, it's hard to really know where the bottom is because it hasn't been too many consistent touches. Potentially there'd be a short if it makes it back up to the top. It doesn't though, and it starts breaking out and start moving down. So the way I look at it is, it looked like there was a push up, one leg down, kind of an ugly step size, one leg slightly curving into a consolidation and another flash down. Now it breaks out of the yellow channel, but it comes right back in, moves up. So I was thinking there's a triple test here, but not enough for a trade. This is kind of like, it's a possible hidden second entry because you have a new low here. It's a first entry short. It opens, pushes up. And so it's like first entry short, hidden second entry short, potentially triple test. The only thing I thought might have made it a possible trade is the EMA is holding prices down. And it's kind of near the lows of the channel because it broke out of this and made one attempt down, push up. This could be the second attempt down. So when you see this, maybe there's a trade there, but I didn't trust this as a range just yet. So I marked it, but I wasn't confident in my read of it yet. Prices then continue moving, breaks out of this range. There's a consolidation, pushes up, and now it looks like it's starting to trend right back down. So first entry long, second entry long. This isn't a very good signal bar. It's a little confusing. It's just very, very sideways price action right now. Now it's like breaking out when I, not necessarily sideways price action, but the candles are very, very, they're pretty much the same size. So what you're getting is these big moves that are pretty much moving the same size as the previous, but each one is slightly lower, slightly higher. So it's not creating a very clean trading range that I don't feel comfortable with. I need something like this where it's a little bit more clear downtrend or a clear uptrend. And this is just very congested. Breaks out. I don't see anything safe. It hits this consolidation area. And here, this is where I actually saw a new high. But technically, it's making a triple test up, not triple test, but triple high, triple micro, excuse me. It touched these highs at the same point 3 times. I saw this as first entry long pullback, second entry long, and I did have this as a trading range at this point. It's a little bit of a reach though, because I saw this as a failed breakout, first entry short, second entry short, maybe a higher low, maybe there's a trade here, but I wasn't too confident about it. It is coming from the bottom of this trading range if you could trust that it wasn't even lower. But I try to take it from this point forward because you could have easily said maybe the trading range is actually lower here, in which case this feels like it's too close to the highs of that range. But nevertheless, this trading range is only 2 ticks big, so it feels not quite a safe trade. Prices then continue moving up, and so it starts curving up on this green channel, starts chopping around, breaks out of the green channel, hits this range, and it starts moving up again. I saw this as one leg up, consolidation, and then another potential leg up. I drew this purple channel as a placeholder to see if maybe prices are actually going to obey this purple channel up. It looks like it's holding, and unfortunately it doesn't touch the bottoms or the tops, so it's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's far from the EMA, so it's hard for me to trust any entries. Thumbs up, kind of hits a consolidation area. I don't like to see these double dojis. Technically, you say there's a new high, say first entry long pullback, second entry long, but then seeing this, taking a long off this bearish signal bar isn't very good. And then you see these two, and then you finally see this guy, but then it's just, by then the trade has already happened. You're not sure if it's going to, EMA is going to hold prices down or is it going to push back up. Kind of flashes back down. This area is a little bit unclear for me. The new low, it's a first entry short right here. Technically a second entry short. This would have been a good trade if the EMA was closer so you can have another key entry point to reject off of. Here I did see a second entry short, first entry short, second entry short, and a triple test. And then later I drew it as a range. So the thing I don't like about this is I would say it's kind of like an almost setup because it's the top of the range is coming back down. It's very close to where there was some kind of respect paid to this support. So it's hard to trust that if you take a short, you're going to have a breakthrough because it might easily just bounce right back up. Well, I said, when I saw this, I said, I guess the best way to look at this is ideally try to get a lower high or another confirmation. I needed to break out of this range in one direction or the other, even though the EMA is holding. So I'm more bearish leaning. And finally, you get your lower high. I like that it broke one tick above and came back down, but it closed right at the low of this range. So after seeing this, I think I would have gotten a trade ready, but I wouldn't have executed it yet till I see what happens on the next candle. When this flashes down, if I was quick enough, I would have put my entry one tick below this candle. Then I know for sure it's going to break down and through because I don't want it to just move one tick down or meet the same low as this guy and then flash back up. So this was I think, a decent trade if I was more mentally aware of it. Prices then continue moving down. It kind of bounces up. EMA is starting to come into play, but there's no good setups. It's also getting into the last 30 minutes of the day where this is just getting very, very choppy now. And then it just kind of moves into the close. So today there was a lot of volume, a lot more noticeable volume than it was before because these candles were closing pretty quickly. There weren't too many clean setups that I could trust or I trust myself on my read to enter, but there were a few trades in here. Some of them I felt were a little riskier or tricky. I managed to just get one trade, and I think I was just kind of happy with that because I didn't want to end the Friday in a red. And ideally, there'll be more days like this where there's just a lot more volume. Price action is swinging a little bit more to have, I guess, more opportunities. Otherwise, the last few weeks, have been pretty difficult to trade in my opinion, just because they've been very sideways. I mean, look at how much price action was here. Not very much compared to a day like today, where there's just more candles, more bars being printed. And these are just really hard trade days to trade when it looks like that. So overall, it wasn't the most obvious day. There were a lot of big moves and swings that I wish I was able to jump on or at least recognize in time. But all in all, I'm okay with just my one trade. So hopefully that was helpful.